Hey everyone, today I welcome you to see my low budget, no filter nano planted tank. If you are a beginner in planted tank hobby, or if this is the first time you are trying your luck in planted tank, I believe this video will be helpful to you. So please stay tuned and watch till the very end of this video. This is my 1 foot cube planted aquarium. I set this aquarium on May 7th, 2022, and since then the setup had been running fine. It's about 1.5 months. I have seen no issue so far in this aquarium. I preferred a 1 foot cube or 12-inch cube planted aquarium because I wanted this setup to be an ideal setup for beginner. Most often in planted tank hobby, a beginner will start with a small tank and then eventually he or she will graduate with a larger planted aquarium. This particular approach absolutely makes sense because setting up a small planted tank costs you less. Effort wise, it will be much easier to maintain a small planted tank. It will occupy less amount of space at your home, and from maintenance perspective also it will be beneficial. Now let's start analyzing the setup. I didn't use any filter in this setup. I only used an air stone to circulate water within the aquarium. Please note that it's not advised to set up an aquarium without a filter. I can get away without having a filter is simply because the plant livestock in this setup is very less. This will be a shrimp only setup. I have no plan of adding fish, and the amount of plants present in this tank will clean the tank water naturally. Shrimps normally grazes on wood and plants for biofilm. That is the reason feeding this aquarium is a rare occasion. I only feed weekly once to ensure my shrimps are not deprived of the required nutrients that they need to molt and to grow faster. With rare feeding, waste from uneaten food is reduced in this planted aquarium to great extent. If you consider the volume of this tank and if you consider the waste created by shrimps, mostly I am talking about the shrimp poop, is basically negligible. The amount of plants which are present in this particular planted tank readily takes up all different type of waste created by shrimps. After 1 month of initial tank setup, I added only 5 cherry shrimps. So the bioload of this tank is negligible. I expect the shrimps to breed and fill up the tank. So increase of bioload in this tank will be at very slow pace. I also waited 1 month before adding shrimps in this tank. In this 1 month, my plants have grown enormously and ready to take up pollutants like ammonia, phosphate coming from shrimp waste instantly. This is most important part that I like to emphasize most. Planted tank, setting up a planted tank or maintaining a planted tank is basically an act of patience and planning. As you can see, this particular planted tank had been planned properly, and from the very beginning I ensured I am giving enough time to this particular small ecology to build up before I added shrimps. I tried to keep this setup beginner friendly, easy to maintain and less expensive. I didn't hurry to add shrimps in this particular setup. The entire setup had been running for about a month without any kind of livestock. During that time, I ensured plants are growing, and at the time when I was ready to add shrimps, the plants have grown enormously. The growing plants ensured that any kind of pollutants which are being added by the addition of livestock is being taken up readily. That is the reason before adding any type of livestock in your planted aquarium, whether it's a shrimp or whether it's a fish, I suggest to let the system run for 1 month. Let the plants establish themselves so that any kind of change in ecology due to the addition of the livestock can be consumed happily and readily by the thriving plants. I do inject CO2 in this particular planted tank. The reason I use CO2 is simply because I wanted the plants to grow faster. In a planted tank, plants' health should always be your priority, because if plants are growing fast, they will take up all the pollutants from water quickly and readily. But if your plants are not doing well, they are melting, they will actually pollute the water more. So, in order to ensure the entire ecology is established, we need to ensure the plants are growing quickly, happily and they are thriving. I added some seashells in this aquarium so that the requirement for calcium and calcium carbonate for shrimps are met. Air stone in this aquarium is kept on all the time except light and CO2 are on. Before light and CO2 are turned on, air stone is turned off. During the entire photo period or when the lights are on, air stone remains switched off. Once lights are off, immediately air stone is turned on. The entire operation of switching on and off light, CO2 and air stone is maintained using timer. I use Casa smart Wi-Fi timers to switch on and off items as per my need. These smart plugs can be scheduled to turn on and off easily. You can control, schedule and monitor the entire operations from your smartphone, which I believe is pretty cool feature to have. Now let's talk about CO2. I have pressurized CO2 system from where I inject CO2 to all my planted tanks. I use splitter as shown on screen to distribute CO2 across multiple tanks. This splitter has 4 separate needle valves, so I can control the amount of CO2 injection in my planted tank separately. I inject 1 bubble per 2 seconds in this 1 foot cube planted tank. The CO2 is diffused in water using a Nano CO2 diffuser. I kept CO2 injection low as plants used in this setup are slow growing epiphyte plants. Epiphyte plants are plants which doesn't require substrate. They can attach themselves on rocks, driftwood and thrive. Aquatic fern, Anubias, Bouquetfrandra and Java moss are such plants. With the injection of CO2, I am able to achieve faster growth, and with only 3 weeks, my tank went from this to this. I do use fertilizer in this setup for faster plants growth. I use nitrate, phosphate and micronutrients occasionally. There are many items to discuss on this planted tank. CO2, fertilizer, light, filtration, livestock, etc. etc. So I'll continue discussing further in separate videos. Stay tuned to my YouTube channel. If you like this video, then please like, share and subscribe. I'll see you in next video. Till then, take care and bye bye.